JETS for life comes in with a super chat. Thank you so much. He says, why so many 49ers so open all over the field? Is it motion? It's definitely partially motion. A lot of it has to do with Shanahan just being probably the best offensive mind in football for the last few years. Also, they're loaded with talent on top of it. And man, it pisses me off when I see zone and we just have guys wide open in the middle of the field. Like for me, I feel like when you play man, it's very hard to be that wide open. Like you might get bad matchups occasionally, but you're never going to leave a guy wide the hell open. So I don't know. I mean, I guess you don't want to change a broken formula. Clearly, zone defense has worked for this defense the last few years. But yeah, I would agree. Too many open wide receivers is going to be a problem. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, that was a surprise too, and a big reason too why I think it felt like people were open, which maybe might spark another conversation that's going to get people fired up. The Jets didn't get any pass rush on the few pass plays that they did have. There was 31 dropbacks from Brock Purdy, and they got pressure on 3 of the 31 dropbacks, which is not ideal. Now, San Francisco does a really good job of 2 things. They scheme guys open, and they also get the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands pretty quickly. So I understand that it's hard to get pressure on them. At the same time, that's supposed to be the calling card of this defense. The offensive line outside of Trent Williams is poor. So I don't really want to hear that as an excuse. Just defensive line in both phases. The run game and from a pass rush perspective, to me, was just so underwhelming, and I think that played a role in the passing attack as well.
You know, I got excited when I saw Quinnen line up over the right tackle early on in this game, and I was like, all right, we're gonna do some damage with Quinnen. You know, we're gonna figure out a way to manufacture some pressure, and we just never got it. And I would love to know what the snap to throw timing was for Purdy, because it felt like he was back there all day. Like there's a certain quarterback that we had the last few years that I feel like could have done damage to this defense with how much time he had to throw back there. So I guess that inevitably leads to the question, no pass rush. Where do you stand on Haason Reddick getting signed, or what should Joe Douglas do?
I think they need to figure out a way to get this done. That's been my stance on this for a few weeks. It's honestly just frustrating. I think Haason Reddick's camp has handled this in a really poor way. He's lost so much money, and I think he's gotten some really terrible advice. At the same time, that also doesn't take away how silly it is from the Jets' perspective that they let Bryce Huff and JFM go and then tried to replace that production with bringing in Haason Reddick, but then didn't follow through enough to get the guy in here. So I think you make the case that both sides need to get, probably budge a little bit. Maybe the Jets should consider talking to the guy if he's not in the building. But I think clearly we saw that it was an issue in this one, and I'd be doing everything I can to try to get him in here and figure out a mutually beneficial contract for both sides.
I have a hot take, and maybe it's not super hot, but I don't think Haason Reddick plays for us this year. I think it's going to be one of those situations where he's dug in so deep that he's already been fined over $5 million. I think it's close to $6 million now with the fine of the missed game. And now maybe he reports to not go in the net negative, because I think once he misses like 12 games, I think he's technically paying the league in terms of fines and what he was able to have on his salary. He wasn't going to play for 1 year, $15 million. So right now we're talking like less than 1 year, $10 million for this guy to come in and play. I'll be honest, I don't know how much he would have helped. I felt like the running game was just so like on top of us that I don't think it would have been a major issue. Now obviously hearing the stat of how many pass rush snaps we had, the opportunity of how few times we got to Purdy or applied any kind of pressure on Purdy. I'd love to see like where it overly came from, if it was up the gut, if it was around the edge, whatever. But my take on Haason Reddick, I hope he plays this year. I really want him to play. I would not try to push that envelope until after the Patriot game, though, because I think you get him in this week, he's probably not playing against the Titans, and then you're on a short week against the Patriots. So for me, I'd use that almost mini bye from the Patriots game. And if you're down, like let's say you're 1-2 after the Patriot game, now it's time to panic. Like let's figure out a way to get in here, get him on the field. but I think there's a good shot you're 2-1, and at that point, I think Haason Reddick's looking a little, bad in the face. And how long does this really stretch out? So I would wait till after the Patriot game at this point. I kind of want to send a message. Like if I'm Joe Douglas and he's already like hurt our team to this degree, it gives you the opportunity to see Will McDonald, and then Reddick's already just kind of hurting himself. Plus, you're kind of setting yourself up for future contract negotiations, which I think is at the very least important. Like paying Michael Carter, I think was very important to showing how Joe Douglas operates with contracts with our own players. I don't know. It's gonna be really frustrating to see this play out, and I just hope it gets done soon.
I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face, kind of a thing, because I get what you're trying to send a message, but I mean, I don't think it's great to keep running out Will McDonald and Michael Clemens and trying to expect to get the same kind of production that Haason Reddick would give you.
So let me ask you this: So the Jets are going to have to at least make his contract whole, I believe. So you're talking about the Jets eating an additional $5 million or more in cap space right now. So would you pay Haason Reddick $5 to $10 million more off our salary cap to get him in here, or would you rather that money go towards Davante Adams at the trade deadline?
Well, how much cap space? Don't they have close to 18 million in cap space currently after their restructure?
Not when Reddick signs. When Reddick signs, because his contract's not currently on our cap. That 15 million will hit us immediately.
Okay, so then it would go to $3 or $4 million. Well,
yeah. I mean, unless it's an extension, right? Like if it's an extension, then they could make a base salary of like 1 million. You make it a $25 million signing bonus over 3 years, and then his cap hit does drop. So like you can finagle bagel stuff. It just depends how much he wants.
No, exactly. I think that would be the plan, is you redo the deal. I don't think he's coming in here at the same cost, or you're adding more on there. I think you structure in a way where his cap hit is closer to that, we'll say 12 to 15 million dollars, let's say. Mm-hmm. But the actual money that he's getting in is just a little bit more. But I would love Davante Adams on this team also, but if they can't get after the quarterback, they're gonna have a lot of problems.
What's up, guys? Matt O'Leary from Talkin' Jets. If you liked that video, please make sure to subscribe and follow for more New York Jets content.